After the governor's lecture, it was time for the discussants, the CEO, Nigerian Stock Exchange, Mr. Oscar Onyema, a retired general, Ike Nwachukwu, and the acting MD CEO, Bank of Industry, Mr. Wahid Olagunju, amongst others, to bear their minds on the matter.
The lecture was very well delivered. I think a few points that I take away from the lecture. The first one is that it takes visionary leadership to excel and to really bring the entire country forward. The second point that I took away is the fact that you also need significant courage and selflessness to drive the kind of growth that we saw in the 60s that was exemplified by the leaders of the regional government of the day. Another point that I took away was that the growth that we saw during those periods was actually anchored in export-led growth in institutions. So it was something that was sustainable, and that is why even us at the exchange are about our branches at the Cocoa House. So it shows the sustainability that you can derive when you have institutions that are built.
The situation we find ourselves is because we've been dealing all along based on the same norms. A country without a vision, they say, will perish. And a country whose visionaries and leaders are unable to translate their vision into reality are completely condemnable. One of my quarrels when I was Minister of Employment, Labor and Productivity with the banks, and as Foreign Minister, when I embarked upon economic diplomacy, was that our financial institutions don't seem to understand that they are not there only to collect interest rates on loans and kill businesses, but to make businesses thrive. We'll talk about the Silicon Valley. But people come with their great ideas. They don't have the money to support it. Their financial institutions support them and begin to create things. Recently, we were celebrating the Facebook young man that came here. Now, believe me, if you were a Nigerian, that dream would die because the financial institutions in our country isn't oriented to growth, not to development. I'm glad I have Olagunju here, who runs the Bank of Industry. Now, for God's sake, those of you who are in the bank and we are in the banker's house, tell our country and do something to reduce the interest rates. I understand clearly that we are, and I agree with the governor, that we are in depression today because 40–50% of our workforce are jobless. The earnings are low. It's all about oil. We're now diversifying. I hope to goodness that the government of the day and entrepreneurs are prepared to this time push the country to higher heights. Not just talking about it, but doing something.
After the Civil War, our GDP was growing about 11.3% per annum. Because there was no dislocation, we still predicated our economy on our natural resource endowment. But during the Iranian Revolution, in the late 70s, the price of oil went up. And then we started making more money from oil. And our leaders at that time did not guide us correctly. And that was why they said our problem was how to spend the money. So let's find out who our leaders were in those years and who said it. Yes, because that's the only way to hold them to account, so that those of us who are in leadership positions today, we also know that we will be held to account in future. We have a huge population. A population can be an asset, it can be a liability. If it's productive, it's an asset. If it's unproductive, it's a liability. With an average growth rate of 3% per annum, population growth. We have to relate that to our GDP. The wider the positive gap between the population growth rate and the GDP, the higher the quality of life, the higher the per capita income. But now that we are having recession, we are reporting less than 3%, right? And we are growing at 3%. That means there's a deficit. There is trouble. If we go on at this rate, I don't want to use the word perish. It's either we become productive or we perish. And perishing is not an option. So our survival instinct must come on board at this time of our life as a country. We should stop paying lip service. We paid lip service to SAP and its objectives. We paid lip service to Operation Feed the Nation. We paid lip service to Green Revolution. And now the chicken has come home to roost. So we're talking of diversification now, restructuring the economy. We have to ensure that moving forward, we do things correctly. Otherwise, in 5, 10, 20 years, time will come to catch up with us. So we have to be a disciplined country. Our values have been eroded, and value erosion has affected a lot. Quality of education. Our parents now bribe teachers in school for our children to pass common entrance. They bribe them to pass WAEC, to pass JAMB, and they give them money to bribe lecturers in school to buy handouts. When they are now turned out into the labor market, they cannot contribute, they cannot measure up, they cannot defend the credentials they are carrying. And labor is the most important factor of production. That is what is driving the Japanese economy. They don't have much natural resources, but the quality of manpower, they're able to import raw materials from other parts of the world, add value, and export. So talking about education that the governor mentioned, it's very, very important. We need to go back to that. And education begins from home. What kind of values are we imparting in our children? Our mothers have an important role to play. Talking about sociology of development or sociology of industrialization, we must pay a lot of attention to human capital development. And it starts from the home. Because the kind of students we'll get, the kind of workers we'll get, those who will drive the economy, the kind of leaders we'll have, politically, economically, depends on how we train our children. And those of us today in executive positions, when we interview graduates, they cannot defend their qualifications. How productive can they be? So we need to become a highly productive economy. Our values need to be reconstructed. Because as a lender too, we have challenges. When people come to us, they don't want to pay. Out of every 10 borrowers, potential borrowers come to Bank of Industry, 8 do not want to pay back. They believe their own share of the national cake. It's value erosion. In the 60s and 70s, our parents, right, the attitude of credit was different. So these are challenges constraining the private sector development in this country.
The agricultural sector due to limited processing and preservation capacity. This results in high food prices and food importation with its attendant effects on the nation's foreign reserves. To enable Nigerians optimize the benefits from the country's vast agricultural products such as cassava, oil palm, rice, tomatoes and others, the Bank of Industry has launched a 5 billion naira cottage agro-processing fund, the CAP Fund. Customers can access the fund to establish plans to process our various agro-produce into food products or intermediate raw materials for industries at a single-digit interest rate of 9% per annum. For more information on the CAP Fund, please visit www.boinigeria.com/capfund. Bank of Industry, developing Nigeria's agro-processing industry through the CAP Fund.
The conversation on how to make Nigeria live the dreams of our founding fathers has to be sustained, a little here and a little there. Through these conversations and commensurate action, Nigeria would eventually come out of the murky waters and maximize its potentials. One of the ways we maximize our potentials is through the right partnerships, and this is true for entrepreneurs. Maximize your potential by partnering with the Bank of Industry today. Visit their website at boi.ng or call at any of their branches closest to you. The bank has also drastically reduced the turnaround time for processing loans. This ensures that you can actually apply for a loan online. Download the BOI SME Loan app from the Google Play Store and follow the instructions. Feel free to tweet at me at KAY Alayande for further inquiries. That's our package for today, and this is where we'll say goodbye. And thanks for watching. I'm Kaide Alayande. Bye now.